first time the call came in, nobody noticed anything wrong with it. That's important to understand. If it had sounded strange, distorted, frantic, unnatural, we would have flagged it immediately. But it didn't. It sounded exactly like every other late-night call that comes in during winter. Tired, restrained, and slightly unsure. It was January 3rd, 2011. Western Pennsylvania. Rural county. Snow had been falling for 2 days straight, the kind that doesn't pile high all at once but keeps coming layer after layer, until everything feels buried under time itself. Roads were passable but narrowing. Plows ran every few hours, just enough to keep things from disappearing completely. I was working dispatch that night. Second shift bled into third. 12 hours total. The radio room was warm, dim, and quiet the way it always is after midnight. At 12:16 a.m. the phone rang. "County dispatch," I answered. A man spoke. "There's someone standing outside my house," he said. His voice was steady, controlled, not panicked. I asked for his address. He gave it immediately. A farmhouse off Route 62. Old property. Long driveway. Surrounded by woods on 3 sides. I asked what the person was doing. "Nothing," he said. "They've just been there. For a while." I asked how long. There was a pause. "Longer than makes sense," he said. I logged it as a suspicious person call and sent the nearest unit. Officer Mark Rowland. Unit 118. Mark acknowledged and headed out. The first patrol check was routine. Mark arrived at the property at 12:34 a.m. He reported snow covering most of the driveway, no visible vehicle tracks beyond his own. Porch light on. House dark except for one dim lamp in the living room. "No one outside," he said. I relayed that to the caller. The caller didn't respond. I tried the number again. Disconnected. We marked it unfounded. At least that's what we thought we did. The call came back at 1:02 a.m. Same voice. Same line. "There's someone standing outside my house." I pulled up the previous log. Same address. I asked if this was in reference to the earlier call. "Yes," the man said. "They never left." I asked him where exactly the person was standing. "Near the tree line," he said. "By the snowbank." I asked him to describe them. Another pause. "They're facing the house," he said. "They haven't moved." I dispatched a second unit. Officer Lena Morris. Unit 204. Mark volunteered to go back as well. They arrived together. At 1:27 a.m., both units checked in. No one outside. No footprints leading from the woods to the house. No disturbance in the snow at all, except for the tracks from the patrol vehicles. Lena walked the perimeter. Mark checked the tree line with a flashlight. Nothing. The house itself showed no signs of forced entry. Doors locked. Windows intact. They knocked. No answer. The porch light was still on. They cleared the scene and left. At 2:11 a.m. the phone rang again. Same voice. "There's someone standing outside my house." I felt my stomach tighten. I asked him if officers had just been there. "Yes," he said. I asked why he hadn't answered the door. "They told me not to," he said. I asked who told him that. "The person outside," he said. This time I escalated it. Supervisor was notified. 2 additional units were dispatched. 1 from a neighboring township. All arrived within 15 minutes. 4 officers searched the property. They found something this time. Footprints. Barely visible, half filled with fresh snow. Leading from the tree line to the edge of the driveway. And stopping there. No prints leading back. No prints around the house. Just a single line of impressions that ended abruptly, as if the person had stood there for a long time. Facing the house. The officers knocked again. Harder. No answer. They announced themselves. Still nothing. Finally they forced entry. The house was empty. No furniture disturbed. No signs of recent activity. But the living room lamp was warm to the touch. The case should have ended there. False report. Faulty phone line. Someone messing with us. But at 3:04 a.m. the call came again. Same voice. Same sentence. "There's someone standing outside my house." I didn't respond right away. I just listened. In the background, faint but unmistakable, I heard wind. And something else. Footsteps. Crunching slowly through snow. I asked him where he was calling from. "My house," he said. I asked him to confirm the address. He gave it. Same as before. I asked him which room he was in. The living room, he said. By the window. I asked him what he could see. Another pause. He's closer now, he said. We sent officers again. This time when they arrived, the porch light was off. The house was dark. The front door was open. Snow had blown inside, dusting the floor, and there were footprints inside the house, leading from the living room window to the hallway. They stopped halfway down the hall. No body, no sign of struggle, no caller. The phone rang one last time at 3:42 a.m. Same voice, but quieter. There's someone standing outside my house, he said. I asked him where. In the living room, he said. And he looks cold. The line went dead. The phone number was never traced. The house remained empty. No residents were ever found on record matching the caller's voice or description. But every winter, during heavy snowfall, the calls resume. Same time frame, same voice, same sentence. And every time we send someone out, they find fresh footprints in the snow, always leading toward the house, never away. I was assigned to night dispatch because I was the newest one on rotation. That's how it always works in small departments. Rookies take the hours nobody wants. Graveyard shift, storm nights, holidays. The hours when nothing happens until suddenly everything does. January 17, 2006, was supposed to be quiet. Northern Minnesota winters don't announce themselves loudly. They don't roar or howl like storms down south. They arrive softly. A pressure change. A dimming of sound. Snow falling so thick it feels like the world is being wrapped in cloth. The radio chatter that night was already sparse. Most patrol units had cleared early as the weather worsened. County plows had stopped running by 10 p.m. By 11:30, we were down to skeleton coverage. One unit still out. Officer Daniel Hargreave. Badge 231. Daniel had transferred from Duluth 2 years earlier. Quiet guy. Late 30s. Divorced. Lived alone near the edge of town. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it was always precise. No wasted words. The kind of officer who followed procedure even when nobody was watching. At 11:42 p.m., the phone rang. The call didn't route through 911. It came in on one of the older administrative lines, the ones barely used anymore, tied to copper wiring that predated digital routing. Caller ID showed nothing. No number. No location. I answered anyway. A woman spoke. Her voice was calm. Too calm. There's been a light on in that house for 3 nights, she said. I asked her which house. She gave me an address. County Road K. Mile marker 14. I typed it in. The map hesitated before loading, as if unsure whether it should acknowledge the location at all. She continued before I could ask anything else. No one lives there. Then the line went dead. I logged it as a welfare concern. That's the category you use when something feels off but doesn't fit anywhere else. No crime reported. No emergency. Just unease. I checked county records. The address existed, technically. Parcel maps showed a structure listed decades earlier, marked unoccupied, and later removed. No demolition permit. No updated zoning. Just a blank. I hesitated. Protocol says you send a unit anyway. I radioed Daniel. Unit 231 welfare check. County Road K, mile marker 14. He acknowledged immediately. Copy. En route. His voice was clear. Normal. He checked in again at 11:58. Roads unplowed. Visibility's bad. About half a mile out. I told him to proceed with caution. Logged the update. Took a sip of burnt coffee. At 12:11 a.m., his radio keyed up again. Dispatch, he said. I waited for his unit number. He didn't give it. I'm at the address. Something about the way he said it made my skin tighten. Not fear. Just awareness. Like when a room goes quiet too fast. Confirm location, I said. There was a pause. Long enough that I thought the signal had dropped. Then, this house shouldn't be here. I asked him to repeat. He didn't. I tried calling him directly. No answer. I waited 60 seconds. Tried again. Still nothing. Storm interference wasn't unusual. Snow absorbs radio waves. Makes voices fade in and out. But usually when a unit goes quiet, it stays quiet. Daniel's didn't. At 12:29 a.m., His radio activated on its own. No call sign. No button press. Just sound. Went. Then breathing. Close. Slow. Controlled. I leaned forward in my chair. Unit 231, identify, I said. The breathing stopped. Several seconds passed. Then Daniel spoke. They're here, he said. I asked who. There are footprints, he said instead. They start at my cruiser. I asked him where they led. They don't come back. I alerted the supervisor. He told me to log it and wait. Weather interference. Could be echo. Could be stress. Officers say strange things in storms. At 12:41 a.m., Daniel transmitted again. This time his voice sounded different. Flatter. Like it was being read off something. There's a light on upstairs, he said. But the windows are boarded. I asked him to disengage and return to his vehicle. Silence. Then, dispatch, have you ever seen snow fall inside? The radio cut out mid-sentence. Backup tried to reach him. They didn't get far. County Road K was already drifting shut. Plows had pulled off. Trees had started coming down under the weight of ice and snow. One unit reported losing GPS entirely near mile marker 12. Another turned back after nearly sliding into a ditch. At 12:47 a.m., Daniel's radio activated again. We heard knocking. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Metal on wood. Then a sound like someone dragging their hand across a wall. Then nothing. That was the last transmission we ever received from Unit 231. Search and rescue launched at first light. The storm had buried everything overnight. Snowdrifts erased tire tracks. Wind smoothed the landscape flat, like it had been wiped clean. They found Daniel's cruiser at 9:18 a.m. Half off the road. Driver's door open. Keys still in the ignition. Radio powered on. No sign of Daniel. No sign of a struggle. They searched the surrounding area in widening circles. Woods. Fields. Tree lines. No house. No foundation. No debris. County records later confirmed there had never been a structure at that location. Not in the last 70 years. But the footprints were there. Daniel's boot prints led away from the cruiser in a straight line across the open field. They stopped 23 yards out. Abruptly. As if the ground had ended. The investigation dragged on for years. Official cause, exposure. Lost in the storm. Body unrecovered. Unofficially, everyone knew that explanation didn't fit. No officer walks 20 yards into an open field and vanishes. The recordings were archived. The call logs sealed. County Road K was quietly removed from winter patrol routes. And every January without fail the phone rang. Same line. Same calm voice. There's been a light on in that house for 3 nights, it said. No one lives there. We stopped answering. But sometimes, on heavy snow nights when the radios hiss with static, you can still hear him. Dispatch, the voice says. I'm at the address. And the timestamp always reads, January 17th, 11:42 p.m. The minute the patrol never checked back in. The road was never supposed to be there. That was the conclusion reached by 3 separate investigations, 2 county surveys, and 1 federal mapping review conducted over a span of nearly 12 years. Every official document agrees on one thing. According to records, satellite imagery, and historical maps, the road had never existed. But 6 officers drove on it, and one of them never came back. The first report was filed on February 9, 1998. Northern Idaho. Border County. Heavy forest, steep elevation changes, and winter conditions that routinely shut down entire sections of infrastructure for weeks at a time. Snowfall that year had been relentless. Roads disappeared overnight. Signs vanished. Tree lines blurred into white walls. Deputy Aaron Cole was working patrol alone that night. Unit 312. Graveyard shift. At 10:57 p.m. he radioed dispatch. Dispatch, I've got an obstruction on an unmarked road. Looks like a stalled vehicle. Dispatch asked him to confirm his location. He hesitated. Stand by, he said. There was a pause. Then, I'm not sure what road I'm on. Dispatch assumed he had taken a logging access route by mistake. It happened often enough in that region. Private roads branched off state highways with little warning, especially after snowfall buried signage. They asked him to backtrack. That's the problem, he said. I don't remember turning. Cole described the road as narrow but maintained. Plowed recently. Tall pines on both sides. No mile markers. No reflectors. The snowbanks were high, packed cleanly as if shaped deliberately. Dispatch pulled up county maps. No such road appeared. They asked him for landmarks. There's a curve ahead, he said. And a bridge. Wooden. Single lane. There was no bridge within 10 miles of his last known location. They told him to turn around. He said he couldn't. Something's blocking the road behind me, he said. Dispatch asked what. He paused. I don't know, he said. It's dark. And it's quiet. Too quiet. Those were his last words on record. At 11:22 p.m., Cole's unit stopped responding. Search teams were dispatched at first light. They found his cruiser the next morning. It was parked neatly on the shoulder of State Route 12. Engine cold. Doors locked. No snow on the hood. It looked as though it had been sitting there for days, not hours. There was no sign of any unmarked road nearby. No tire tracks leading off the highway. No disturbance in the snow at all. The case was listed as a communications error. Cole was later found, alive, walking along the highway nearly 3 miles away, disoriented and severely hypothermic. He had no memory of the road, or the bridge, or the call. He resigned 6 months later. The second incident occurred in 2003. Different officer. Same county. Deputy Lisa Hammond. Unit 227. She radioed in at 1:14 a.m. Dispatch, I'm on a road that's not showing on my GPS. Dispatch immediately flagged the similarity. They asked her to describe her surroundings. She used almost the exact same language Cole had used 5 years earlier. Narrow road. Ice snowbanks. Recently plowed. Pine forest on both sides. Dispatch told her to stop and remain in her vehicle. She complied. They asked her if she could see where the road began. No, she said. It feels like it's always been here. That transmission was followed by nearly 30 minutes of silence. When she checked back in, her voice sounded strained. I can hear a river, she said, but I don't see one. Dispatch told her to stay put. She said she couldn't. There's a bridge, she said, and I don't think it wants me to stop. Those words were debated endlessly afterward. Officially, they were chalked up to stress. Unofficially, nobody knew what she meant. Her cruiser was found 2 days later. Same condition as Cole's. Parked neatly on the shoulder of State Route 12. No snow accumulation. No evidence of off-road travel. Lisa Hammond was never found. By the time the third incident occurred, the department had begun to suspect something was wrong. They just didn't know what. February 14, 2010. Deputy Michael Reyes. Unit 401. Veteran officer. Calm. Methodical. At 12:03 a.m. he radioed dispatch. I need confirmation on a road designation, he said. Dispatch asked him to clarify. I'm traveling northbound on something that isn't listed, he said. It looks old. Dispatch asked him to stop immediately. He did. They asked him to send GPS coordinates. He attempted to. The system failed. They asked him to describe the road surface. Packed snow, he said. But underneath, it feels like wood. That comment was flagged. They asked him to explain. I just crossed a bridge, he said. But the road didn't change. Dispatch ordered him to reverse. He tried. I can't, he said. There's something different behind me. They asked what. Another pause. The trees are closer, he said. They weren't before. Backup units were dispatched immediately. They lost radio contact with Reyes at 12:41 a.m. His cruiser was found at 6:18 a.m. Same location. Same condition. But this time something was different. His body cam was still recording. The footage showed him driving down a narrow road bordered by snowbanks and pine trees. The headlights illuminated a wooden bridge ahead. As he crossed it, the audio cut out. The video continued for exactly 43 seconds. During that time, the trees appeared to lean inward. Not suddenly. Gradually. As if the road were narrowing on its own. Then the footage ended. Reyes was never found. The department quietly issued an internal advisory. Any officer encountering an unmarked road during winter conditions was instructed to stop immediately and request assistance. No further explanation was given. The road has not been reported since 2012. But during heavy snowfall, dispatch still receives calls. Not from officers, from drivers. They describe a narrow road that doesn't appear on maps. They say it feels maintained, inviting, like it's been waiting. No one has ever provided a usable location. And every time a call comes in, it ends the same way. "I think I'm lost," the caller says, "and the road doesn't want me to turn around." When the federal review concluded in 2020, the final report stated, "There is no evidence that such a road has ever existed." But the report also included a footnote. One sentence, unexplained. Multiple witnesses provided near-identical descriptions of a structure resembling a wooden bridge, despite no record of such a structure within the surveyed area. The file was closed. The road remains unmarked. And every winter, when the snow falls heavy enough to erase familiar paths, officers are reminded, if you find yourself on a road you don't recognize, stop. Because some roads don't lead anywhere, and some don't let you leave. The building was never meant to be used at night. That was the official explanation. The North Ridge Police Substation sat at the edge of town, just before the highway dipped into forested land that stayed snowbound for most of the year. Built in the early 1970s, it was small. 4 holding cells, an interview room, a locker area, and a dispatch desk that had been obsolete for decades. Once the main station was expanded downtown, North Ridge became a daytime-only facility. Paperwork, evidence overflow, temporary holding. At least that was the plan. But during winter storms, when roads closed and response time stretched thin, officers still used it. Not officially, just as a place to warm up, to wait out whiteout conditions, to regroup. And every winter, without fail, the same rule was repeated. Do not stay after midnight. No one ever explained why. The first documented incident occurred on January 22, 1994. A blizzard had shut down most of the county by nightfall. 2 patrol units, Officers Ray Nolan and Judith Pierce, radioed in at 11:18 p.m., requesting permission to shelter at North Ridge until conditions improved. Permission was granted. They arrived at 11:31. Their final transmission came at 12:04 a.m. After that, the station went silent. When officers arrived the next morning, they found the building locked from the inside. Lights on. Coffee still warm. No officers inside. That incident was written off as a clerical error. Radio interference. Miscommunication. Nolan and Pierce eventually returned on foot nearly 3 miles down the highway, disoriented and frostbitten but alive. They claimed they had left the station voluntarily. When asked why the doors were locked behind them, neither officer had an answer. They both transferred within the year. By the time I worked dispatch, the station already had a reputation. Nobody liked it. The building had a way of going quiet when you were inside it. Radios lost signal. Cell phones dropped calls. Sound felt absorbed as if the walls were padded. But it was still used, especially during storms. January 11, 2008, was one of the worst winters we'd had in years. Freezing rain turned to snow by dusk. Wind picked up fast. Power outages rolled across the county. Plows struggled to keep up. At 10:47 p.m., Officer Henry Walsh requested permission to shelter at North Ridge. He was alone. Unit 344. Dispatch approved. He checked in on arrival at 11:02 p.m. Inside the station, he said, "Power's on. I'll ride it out." I logged the entry. At 11:36, he radioed again. "Dispatch, does this place always lock automatically?" I asked him to clarify. "The front door," he said. I stepped outside to check the generator and it locked behind me. I told him the building had automatic locks. "That's what I thought," he said. "But the keypad's not responding." I advised him to try the rear exit. He did. "Same thing," he said. "Locked." I asked him if he was inside or outside. There was a pause. "Inside," he said. "I think." At 11:58 p.m., Walsh radioed again. "The lights just dimmed," he said, "and I can hear something moving in the cell block." I asked him if anyone else was inside. "No," he said. "I checked when I got here." I told him to remain calm and stay in the main area. He didn't respond. At 12:01 a.m., his radio activated without a call sign. We heard footsteps, slow, measured, then a door closing. Metal on metal. Backup tried to reach the station. They couldn't. The access road had drifted shut. At 12:19 a.m., Walsh's voice came over the radio again. "It's past midnight," he said. I asked him what he meant. "This place feels different now," he said. "Like it knows I'm here." I told him to stop talking like that and focus on procedure. He laughed. A short, dry sound. "That's the problem," he said. "I don't think procedure applies here." The cameras inside North Ridge were outdated but still functional. At 12:23 a.m., the feed cut in on its own. The main hallway appeared empty. Lights flickered. Then the holding cells came into view. All 4 doors were open. They hadn't been earlier. We tried to call Walsh. No response. At 12:31 a.m., the feed switched again, this time to the interview room. Walsh was sitting at the table, hands folded, looking straight ahead. He didn't move for nearly 3 minutes. Then he looked up, directly at the camera, and mouthed something. We rewound the footage later, frame by frame. His lips formed 3 words. "It won't unlock." The feed went dark at 12:38 a.m. When officers reached the station the next morning, they found it locked from the inside. Again, lights on, coffee cold. Walsh's cruiser still parked out front. Inside, the building was empty, except for the cell block. One cell door was closed. Inside it, etched faintly into the frost on the wall, were tally marks. Dozens of them, grouped in 4s, one short of the next set, as if counting days. The official report listed Walsh as missing, presumed dead. The station was closed permanently the following spring. Doors welded shut. Power cut. Records archived. But every winter, during heavy storms, dispatch still receives radio traffic from that frequency. No unit number. No call sign. Just a calm voice. "Dispatch," it says. "I'm inside North Ridge." And always, the timestamp reads just after midnight. When the building was demolished in 2019, contractors reported something strange. The cell doors were all locked, from the inside.